Good.
We can start.
We are speaking today to Mr. Boško Jugović, who was born in the village of Pucari in 1936. Mr. Jugović, what do you remember about the war, your first experience about it?
The first experience was approximately in June of 1941 because there was an attack on the villages, and we had to escape. First time, I remember there was plums, were ready to eat, and we had to escape again to below our forest called Velika Luka, and at the time there was a piece of bread we called sumun, which I remember like today. We brought this in to to be able to eat, and a few hours later, or maybe I don't remember the time, they called us and tell us to come back, which we did. Fortunately, at the time they stopped the tank, the German or Ustashi tank in village called Klekovci. That's the first, sort of, remembrance.
That was, so you were 5 then?
Yes, yes.
And what happened then? What do you remember then?
After that, the main event that I remember was we call it Mladi Božić. It's on the 14th of January every year. There was a mass killing in the village of Drasenić. By the time there was snow was quite high, and one of the refugee of that massacre came into our home and said that what happened. They were surprised, and at the end she said that the church was full of blood. Yes, she said up to a knee. And I remember I said, oh, that must be quite a bit of blood. At the time they killed 208 victims, including men, women, and children. They were massacred right there inside the church, or at their home, wherever they got them. They were able to do that.
So they were led into the church, and then they were killed there.
Inside the church, which I will be showing to you when we go to that village, the foundation of the church and where it was.
And then, who did the killing?
The killings was done by the Croatian Ustashi, called Ustashi. They came from across from Jasenovac, which is maybe 10-15 kilometers away. And again, it was this was the massacre, first one at the beginning.
So this lady came to your family and told the story.
Yes.
And that was in January 42.
On January 14th of 1942.
And what do you remember next?
The next I remember was the offensive on Kozara, big one at the beginning of the either May or June 1942. My father was, required to take the meat to the front of Partizani in a village called Bielajci, which he did. He was ordered to do that, which he did, and he came back. However, the most important that happened after that was the refugees. They were escaping from villages close to Jasenovac, and of course there were planes throwing the leaflets saying to the people that they're only after the partisans. To the people there will be nothing but to put the white flags on their homes as a sign of surrender And then there was a panic, a terrible panic, because the words were spread that the Germans and Ustashi had the dogs that would, discover where the people were hiding, and they were gonna be, searching every, meter of the land with sticks to make sure that, there is nobody underground. And then one day, I believe it was it was July 11th, 1942. That was the day before there was a fest here in this town called for St. Peter. And the Croatian or German soldiers came to the village of Vojskova, which is higher ground than us, and we can see them coming through. And unfortunately for the young child, he was only about 9 years old. He came from Arnaut's name. He came to his grandparents to play very close to our home. And they were shooting with the big guns from village of Vojskova, and unfortunately one of the bullets stuck him in his stomach, and I heard crying, saying, well, they killed that boy, and it was true, unfortunately, and they buried him exactly like, immediately in the yard, where the home was. And then they came, Ustashi soldiers came with a motorcycle. One was driving it, and the other was sitting across with a machine gun. They came to our home, I don't know why, because they passed 2 houses before us. They came to us, and the father was outside, and we asked him, can he, help them? Can he give, some water or whatever? He said, no, thank you. And I was watching it from a little distance, afraid what's going to happen. Then my father asked them, what do you want to do? They said, well, you are going to Ravan. It's called like a plain. It's very close to across from Jasenovac. And he said, whoever is going to be found tomorrow here is going to be killed tomorrow morning. And the father said, well, how long would we stay? He said, well, not too long. Don't bring nothing with you, that much with you. The father was ready with, we took one horse called Vranac, and 2 wagons. One was a horse wagon, one was oxen wagon. And the father put whatever was there, and we left in the morning of July 12th. I remember because that was the day that we celebrate here in Dubica, Petrovdan, called Petrovdan. And as we were going through the village, we stopped at one spot because there was nobody around there. We stopped. We were friends with the family of Mirko Dimić, because his daughter and my brother Ljubić were to get married eventually. We stopped, the father went there and came and said nobody was there, they already left. As soon as we started to go from that home, because there was not much, trees, we can see the soldiers in the village of Vojskova called Sjenokosi, where they had the guns. As soon as we started, they started to shoot the guns on us. Yes, sir. We can, I can hear the boom, and then, a few seconds later, zzzz, boom, And
so it was shelling.
There was a shelling. They were shelling of us. Of course, we were afraid. The father started to even get the oxen to run, which they cannot. They can only go like this. Fortunately, they did not, hit us. There must have been about maybe 3 or 4 shells, or maybe more. But again, we escaped that.
Tell me, so you had 2 carts, 1 horse cart with 1 horse.
Two horses. Two horses, sorry.
And 1 cart with the oxen.
With the oxen. Plus, my brother was, riding a horse.
Riding a horse that you mentioned.
Vranats, called Vranats. Yes.
Now, who was your brother? How old was he?
My brother was only about 16.5, 17 years old.
I see. Now, so on the cart was your father and your mother, and their names?
My father is Stevo Jugović. My mother was Jela Jugović, born before she was married in a family Šljivar, in village of Bijakovac. And 2 of us, my sister, Zora, and myself.
So there were 3 children and the parents?
Yes, exactly.
And so they stopped shelling and you kept going towards them?
We kept going.
On the road?
Yes.
On the road where you were ordered to go?
Exactly. We were going to the village of Draksenić, the same spot where that lady came in the wintertime to us. When we came to the village, I remember like it was yesterday, because the houses were close to each other, much better than in our place, of course. They were painted different colors, yellow, green, stuff like that, but they were also damaged by the fire. And then we also passed, because the bridge on the river was blown up, and river Rakovica, we couldn't go that way. We went almost in the front of the church, and I can see that the doors on the front was twisted, and on the other side there was 2 huge graves, long graves. We went over the river Rakovica and settled to the place where the lady came from. The family was called Vlajnić. For some reason that I cannot recall, my mind said, why don't I go and take a look at the church? I took my sister. I did not tell my parents, of course, about that. We went walking, which is not too far, and we were afraid. But I was kind of like a guide, taking my sister. We came inside, and I can see, disaster, because the walls were still marked by the blood, lots of blood all over. The floor was cleaned, and there was black and white tiles. Again, when we came outside, I sort of went through the, looking at because the tank was also forced, everybody was forced to bypass the bridge, which was damaged. And one of them was a tank that I did not know what it was. As I look at the long graves, 2 of them, one was run over by the tank more than the other. And I felt sorry for the people that were killed there, but I also was wondering, also saying, well, this thing had also, came over and, sort of forced them more. Kind of did the damage more than sort of thing.